call the meeting to order. Welcome everyone to the Board of Adjustment meeting, March 22nd, 2022. I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda if we're ready to move on.
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
All right.
Second.
Okay. Go ahead. Second, Mr. Killian. First was Mr. Pierce. So the minutes, did everybody get a copy of the minutes from
You want,
October?
you got the motion second. Take the vote.
All right, vote. All in favor of the agenda?
Aye.
100%.
There we go.
Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself.
That's all right. No worries.
All right, the minutes, everyone got a chance to look at the minutes from last meeting, October 19th, 2021, so it's been a while. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
First,
Second.
Killian second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, with that, we'll move on to new business. Brian, I don't know if we want to swear anyone in.
Yep, so first thing we'll do is we'll get everybody sworn in first, and then we'll move through with staff's presentation, and then we'll
So if
do
we
any
get
testimony.
anyone who wants to present or speak on the motion of the Mill Street Town Special Use Permit, if you guys would please step forward, we'll get you sworn in.
You want me to do that for you, Brian? Anybody else that's going to give testimony at tonight's? Okay. Do you want to swear or affirm? Do you want to swear or affirm? Does it matter to you? Okay. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, but nothing but the truth, so help you God? Okay, thank you.
You have a question, Chairman?
No, actually, I was just waiting to get the gentleman's name. We can do that one.
I got you. Yeah, you can do that. Okay. All right, so good evening, everyone. As always, it's a pleasure to be in front of you guys. Appreciate you all attending tonight. So we've got a special use permit application for a project called Mill Street Towns. That's parcels 16203 and 39149. So this is not unlike what you guys have seen in the past. Special use permit for a multi-family residential development is required to do a special use permit. So that's the process we're going to go through tonight. So the applicant is Jones and Smith Contractors. That's Kenneth Smith. This is located on Mill Street. That's north of its intersection with Laurie Ellis Road, and I'll show you a map here in a second. I've already mentioned the parcel numbers, 16203 and 39419. So this is a 11.5 acre tract. So it's a multi-family residential zoning. This was rezoned to multi-family residential back in June of 2021. So the proposed use is a single-family attached residential development. That single-family attached is synonymous with townhomes. So you can see here, property is here. So it's these two parcels here, that parcel here, that parcel here. So this is Mill Street, runs into Railroad Street there. Mill Street here, that's the intersection of Main and Mill right there. This is the property to the north is the one we did in the past for 11 at Main. So that there's going to be a residential townhome development there. So you see the intersection of Main Street, 903 and 11 there. So,
Brian, if you're going out of town, this would be on the left side, correct?
yep, if you're going south, if you're going, where are you saying from? So this is downtown. If you're coming from downtown, it'll be on the right.
On the right.
Okay, I was thinking
So,
going across the 11.
yeah,
I
so
was thinking it was on the other end looking at the map.
I got you. Yeah, well, here, I'll show you an aerial here in a second. But you see, obviously, I mentioned the zoning district, so that orange color is our multi-family residential zoning. As I said, it was rezoned back in June of 2021 to that. It was previously an R8 zoning district. So I always throw this in here, especially in this area. So when we did our comprehensive land use plan, we did a small area study. And this area in this picture actually correlates the exact same area we are now. When we did that comprehensive plan, infill development can bring, that new residential and reinforce a vibrant downtown setting. So it fits in with our comprehensive land use plan. So I just always like to point that out. But here's an aerial photograph. I wish I'd have zoomed out a little bit better. But obviously you can see Highway 11 running north and south there. This would be obviously the north here. Going to the south would be Aden, but over here you can see going into downtown to the north on Mill Street. This open area here would be where they're currently working on 11 at Main townhome development. So it would be these two properties here. If approved, going through with a site plan, this barn is going to be removed, so it's all going to be kind of cut out around here. I think the intention is to leave this single-family residence. There, just overlaid on top of it's the actual initial site plan. This is subject to change a little bit, just depending on, you know, preliminary plat design, all that kind of good stuff. But this for the special use permit would suffice for what we need to do the special use permit. So anytime we get an application for this, we obviously go to our zoning ordinance, and our zoning ordinances is our table of permitted uses. So here you can see this will be dwellings, conventional or modular, multifamily, which includes single-family attached. That single-family attached, again, is synonymous with townhomes. So we go over to the multifamily residential zoning district, special requirements there, and 2 is what we got to go to in our special requirements. And I'm going to run through those. So it gets pretty lengthy, so if I'm running over, you guys stop me if you got any questions. But the very first one, no multifamily dwellings or series of attached single-family multifamily buildings or other such arrangements shall exceed a length of 150 feet. So that's measured from the longest axis of the building. And then moving down to B. So obviously the 20 dwelling units, I don't even know if I mentioned it in our application info, but it's 138 dwelling units. So the 20 wouldn't apply here, so we move down to B. No multifamily development shall contain more than 60 dwelling units unless the development shall have the frontage along and direct access on 2 major or minor thoroughfares or combination thereof as shown on the thoroughfare plan. And the next slide will show the map. Also, number 3 applies, so any multifamily development with more than 100 dwelling units shall meet the requirements of 2 and shall submit a certified traffic engineering report evaluating the capability of the adjoining street system to carry the traffic generated by the development. So typically, we would have that with the application packet. We don't have that. It's not unlike the site plan that's going to be required also, and I will get into a little bit more on that in a second. But so like I said, typically we would have that with the application packet. The applicant has procured the engineer to do the report. For whatever reason, it hasn't been done yet. It will need to be done. So it's not necessary, the special requirements don't necessarily say it has to be done for the special use permit to be issued. It just says it has to be done. So the board will have to weigh that whenever you guys are looking at everything and making your final decision. I will say, in staff's opinion, they will be able to meet those requirements. So if you guys will remember back when they did 11 at Main, we do have preliminary numbers we do have numbers from that traffic impact analysis that could correlate to this one. Obviously, they would have to do their separate ones, but with the way the road systems are lined up out there, they've got more than enough capacity than what this would generate from looking at those numbers. So I think they did 170 units to the north. I think the end-all be-all was 1,200 and some odd daily traffic trips per day. Highway 11 carries about 20,000 a day. Capacity on that's about 43,000. So even with the combination of those 12 to 1,300 there, with what's going to be ultimately less because it's less units combined, it won't even touch that capacity there. So I think it won't be detrimental to those road systems or adversary to those road systems for carrying it.
Brian, can we ask questions real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
So they would have to have that traffic, what do you call it, the traffic engineering report prior to them starting to build?
Absolutely. So yeah, and it'll also go in conjunction with our preliminary plat approval. So when we do that review, DOT is going to have to review it. DOT is going to have to put their stamp of approval on it. So that traffic impact analysis will only bolster their ability to review that. So, but yes, absolutely, we'll have to. So that would be part of this conditions, or part of the requirements. They'll have to provide that. So.
One other question on that. I mean, when they do the engineering, the engineering report, are they looking at just that area along with that one and then potentially future? Because it seems like that area is growing like this second one.
So there's a little bit of separation between the special use permit and the actual development. So I'll say for the special use permit, they're just going to be looking specifically at this development. All right, so they're just going to be making sure the traffic generated by this development isn't a detriment to the road systems. So when they move forward with preliminary plat approvals and DOT is looking at their access to 11, access to Mill Street, DOT will then determine whether or not they need an additional traffic impact analysis, which will look at further intersections. So they'll set the scope of that. So, and DOT regulates those accesses. So they'll have to adhere to whatever DOT puts in front of them for that. So potentially they could have to do more analysis on surrounding areas, but for this purpose only, that report will just show the functionality of the roads in comparison to what this will generate.
Brian, one question for me too. I think you just mentioned this, but that certified traffic engineering report, are you thinking about making that a condition on to the special use permit? Is that actually a named condition?
So yes, so even in the special use permit, we run through everything that's the special requirements. I mean, and it is listed as part of the special use permit requirements. So the way that the permit reads is that they have to do all these for the permit to be valid. So.
And like you said, it's still going to be critical later on in the development process. But if it's a condition to it, then if it's and I'm sure it will be done. I know it will be, but for some reason, if it's not, then it would affect the validity of the permit.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
So just a site plan again. So when we're looking at the thoroughfares, so obviously, so to orient you a little bit more, so Highway 11 is here, Mill Street is here, so they'll gain access. So this is the access they'll be using for Highway 11. So that satisfies one thoroughfare, and this will be the access for Mill Street. That's two. So so they meet that condition. This is the maximum length they have of all the buildings is 140 feet. So the max is 150 feet. So they meet that requirement as well. So moving on to the next one under subsection C. So any individual multifamily building, two-family dwelling, or series of attached dwelling units will to be located on individual lots shall be developed in accordance within the area, yard, and height requirements of the district in which it's located. Basically, what this is saying is it has to meet the zoning district regulations. And that actually just talks about a single one. So these are going to be subdivided. So moving on to D is really where this is going to fall into place. In any case where more than one multifamily building, which is obviously the case here, more than one two-family dwelling or more than one series of attached dwelling units are proposed to be considered or be constructed on one lot, such development should be in accordance with the following. So a site plan. So this is where I was talking about. The site plan kind of falls in the same category as that traffic impacts report. So they do have a site plan, but this condition actually specifies that the planning and zoning board has to approve it. So the way we've operated in the past is we'll do that in conjunction with the preliminary plat at the planning and zoning stage. So that preliminary plat will act as a site plan to be approved by planning board. Then it ultimately goes on to town council. So they're not. So even with it not being done now, so that they can't go to the P&Z without a special use permit. So it's you can't have one without the other. So in my opinion, or a staff's feeling that it's some of the same scenario as the traffic impact analysis. So the next step. So this is obviously just the next step in the series of hoops they've got to jump through to get approval on a multifamily.
Real quick, Brian, you said the site plan is done, or?
So I mean, well technically.
I know it's not required to be done yet, but is it already complete?
No, so I mean, technically this is I mean, you could consider this a site plan. Sure. So they've got that to us, but the one part I'm talking about is, it'd be this part where it says must be approved by the planning board. So that part hasn't been done yet. So when you're looking at the special use permit requirements, it's more, that's a condition set forth in the permit, just like the TIA requirement would be. So then going on to density, so there is a maximum density anytime we're looking at a multifamily development. So I'm not going to try to go too much into the, if you read this, it'll make you kind of go crazy. So I'm just going to go straight to the calculations. So the minimum lot area for new construction is 15,000 square feet. Well, they actually have 11.5 acres, which is 503,000 square feet. So they meet that requirement. So the way we do the calculation is the first unit is 4,000 square feet. Then each additional two or more bedroom would be 2,500 square feet. So they have 138. So one unit, 4,000 plus the 137 units equals 342,000. So the required footage out there would be 346,500 square feet, which would be about 8 acres. So as we said, they have 11 acres. So they could actually have a maximum allowable units at 200. Obviously, that's not going to be the case with roads, BMPs, pump stations, all that kind of good stuff. So you back that out. And that's currently where they're at, is the 138. So they got plenty of room to do it as far as the required square footage for the ordinance requirements. So then moving down to the yard requirements. So along each exterior property line or public street, the minimum front, rear, and side yard setback of the zoning district shall be maintained. Interior, for each building erected along a private street or access way, a minimum setback of 20 feet shall be maintained between the nearest edge of the street or access pavement, and then the buildings, they'll have to be 20 feet apart too. So that's it's kind of washed out here, but the red lines indicate the narrowest width between the buildings. That is 20 feet in all cases. So it's at least 20 feet in all cases, and most of them are more than that. So going down, keep on going to street access. So all private streets or access ways providing ingress and egress from the development to an existing public street system shall comply with the current standards being required by the subdivision regulations in effect. So that would, that'll be something that we look at in the preliminary plat stage, site plan approval. So Public Works will make sure that they comply with the current standards of the subdivision ordinance. Sidewalks likewise, so they'll have to provide sidewalks in accordance with the subdivision ordinance as well. And also storm drainage improvements. That's going to include your stormwater infrastructure, stormwater ponds, stormwater drainage, all that kind of good stuff. So all this will be, most of that stuff is probably going to be worked out of the construction site phase. Any questions on that? And then sanitary containers. So if they're going to have common sanitary garbage containers, they got to have them in a location that's going to fit in with the zoning ordinance. They're going to have to cover them just like it would any. So it'll be a 3-sided at least with an opaque walls, and then a concrete pad in conformance with the Public Works Department's sanitation container location standards. So again, all this stuff will be reviewed at the preliminary plat stage and construction plat stage, or construction plan stage. So with all that being said, planning staff is of the opinion that the request can meet all the development standards required for issuance of the special use permit upon proper findings by the board. So I will say, Mr. Steve Janowski is the project engineer. So if you got any questions for him, he's available for any questions on the technical side of anything, but I'll answer any questions at this time as well.
This one is related to the note at the bottom. I don't even know if that matters to the special use permit, where it talks about the Mill Street Town proposed development of 138 bedroom townhomes with proposed reduction in parking space requirements. So does that be addressed?
And I apologize, I meant to address that as well. So that is something that, and I've talked with the project, with the applicant and Mr. Janowski about that as well. That's something that the special use permit cannot address. That would be a variance procedure or process. I don't think it's a good candidate for a variance, because it's one of those things where you got to go through the proper findings for a variance, which would be, is it unique to the property? Is it detrimental to the project? And does it render the property useless? All those kind of good things. I don't know if that's going to be the case. So they actually did give me an updated application and took all the parking stuff out. So it was just for the 138 dwelling units. So I do apologize for not mentioning that.
138 special use
Right, yep. So with that, like I said, Mr. Janowski can answer any questions you have, and if not, then Mr. Chair, you'll run through your findings and vote on each.
Questions from the board, Mr. Janowski? Or Mr. Janowski, you're welcome to step forward. Do you have anything you want to discuss or present?
Well, he would probably speak during your public hearing section.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
So,
Yep.
yeah,
So questions and then public hearing.
that's right. Any questions of the board of what Brian, his presentation? If not, then you would open up the public hearing.
All right, with that, we'll open up the public hearing. If anybody would like to speak, Mr. Janowski. Thank you.
My name's Steve Janowski. I'm a project engineer for this, from Mr. Smith. And just basically, the presentation was pretty straightforward. The most we could probably get, obviously you can mathematically get 200 based on the ordinance. 138 is probably as much as we can physically get with the size unit that we're using. We've got to meet the NPDES Phase 2 stormwater management, so there's open space associated with that. We've got storm drainage that's got to come through that, so with just the spaces that we've got to provide for that piece, the additional parking. So all those components will be a part of this particular site plan. I'm not standing up here as an expert witness for traffic, though I've been part of it for many, many years. Usually there's about 8, for townhouses, there's about 8 trips per day. So that puts you in about 1,000 to 1,100 trips per day. And if you can look at the traffic configuration, just thinking in terms of logically, if you were living there, which way you would go, most of you would probably be heading towards 11, so say 60% would go one way. So say 600 would go one way, 400 would go out towards Mill Street. There's a possibility we will interconnect with the Wintergreen Commons, which also has the connection to, thank you so much, Laurie Ellis Road. We built 3 houses off of Laurie Ellis Road. And so that would take some traffic that may head south, but it would probably be a smaller percentage. I would imagine most of the traffic is still heading north towards Greenville or towards the bypass to kind of go to the Raleigh area. And so if you just did the 60-40 split, you typically have 10% in a peak hour is what you generally would have. So if you had 1,100 vehicles, you'd have 110 vehicles per hour, one in the peak hour, whether it was the morning peak or the evening peak. The shifts are usually a little bit different. So if a 60% was assigned, you'd have 60 basically of those vehicles are going towards NC-11, and then you'd have about 40 vehicles in the peak going towards Mills Road. And just one of the conversations that we had prior, typically a 2-lane state road that's 45 miles an hour like Mills Road has about 10,000 vehicles per day capacity. And I think you basically indicated it was roughly 6,000 at this point in that area. So put the addition of about 400 or 500 vehicles per day would not impede that. But we will still have to submit all that information to the NCDOT. They'll be the ones that will determine whether or not we have warrants for a right turn lane or a left turn lane on a Mills Road.
And Mr. Chair, if I could, I just point out that Mr. Janowski is a licensed engineer with Rivers
Yes,
and
sir.
Associates, and is here representing
123424, North Carolina.
here representing the developer, Mr.
That's
Smith.
correct.
Thank you, Mr. And with that, is there anyone that may have shown up or come up that would like to speak against this or for it at this point? I know we didn't have anybody else sworn in, but just want to make sure we give the opportunity before we close the hearing. Okay. With that, we'll close the public hearing. And Brian, I don't know if you have the information, get a motion to vote on criteria. Brian, if you want to advise us on that criteria, we'll get a motion for that.
Yeah, and I don't think we need do we need a motion to go into it? We just read them and take a motion?
No, I mean, once you've closed the public hearing, it's now back with the board, and so you can walk them through the findings of fact, Brian.
Yeah, so the special use permit is to hear and decide in particular cases, subject to appropriate conditions and safeguards, permits for the special uses as authorized by Article 6, and in granting a special use permit, the board shall make the following affirmative findings, A through E. So I'll read the first one and then let you guys take the motion, and we'll go down through E. So the first criteria, A, the use requested is among those listed as an eligible special use in the district in which the subject property is located.
I make a motion that we vote.
And this would be a motion in favor to it.
Yeah. Okay, so, motion in favor, all in favor of A?
Aye.
Aye.
We had a motion and a second.
Okay, got confused. We have a motion, second, and then we vote all, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay,
Yep.
Okay.
that's right. And we vote on each individual one. So we had a motion and a second.
Yeah.
That's what I
Mr.
missed.
Killian was the second.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All in favor, let's try one more time.
Yeah, all right.
All right.
Okay.
All right, so B, that the special use will not materially endanger the public health or safety if located where proposed and developed according to the plan as proposed.
Motion to vote. Mr. Miller,
Second.
Mr. Pierce, second. All in favor?
And that again was a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Okay.
sorry.
Just want to make sure we're not voting against. All right, thank you.
All right, so C, that the special use meets all required conditions and specifications.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So D, that the special use will not substantially injure the value of adjoining or abutting property, or that the use is a public necessity.
Second.
Pierce, second. All in favor?
Aye.
And last, E, that the location and character of the special use, if developed according to the plan as proposed, will be in harmony with the area in which it is to be located and in general conformity with the plan of development of the town and its environs.
Motion to approve.
Killian,
Second.
Second, Mr. Pierce. All in favor?
Aye.
No opposed.
And then we close out by a motion to actually approve the special use permit.
Yep.
Motion first, Mr. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
No nays. Anything else, Brian, that you have to go through? the information on?
That was all of my presentation for tonight. You guys saw my staff report from the activity we've got going on in town right now. As you guys know, it's really, really busy with development. So I'll answer any questions you guys have of me, but other than that, that's all I got. Yes,
I'd like to say thank you, Mr. Janowski. Thank you for your time.
And Mr. Chair, I'd point out, I've been here with a number of your meetings over the last, because we don't have them every month. But we have tonight with us our councilperson, Veronica Robson's here with us
Thank you.
tonight.
Thank you for joining us. All right, with that said, I get a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Killian, Miller, all in favor? Aye. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Was a quick one.
Yeah, that's some quick typing there. Yeah.
What'd you say?